Chodesh Tov, very excited to be in this month and to share a little tool that I really love and use a lot for myself and with my clients, with my kids, for Elul. It's called the spiral staircase. And yes, I do have a semi-spiral staircase in my living room. Perfect prop. So why the spiral staircase? Elul is this month right here before Tishrei, before Rosh Hashanah and the New Year. It is the month where we're supposed to kind of go deep inside and do our internal work and introspect and retrospect and go deep and transform. So this is a great time to just plug in to ourselves and to our inner gifts and opportunities. So here's the tool. I call it the spiral staircase because Elul, beautifully, the word inside of Elul, the name of the month, is Lul. Lul means spiral staircase. It means a bunch of things. It also means cage. But in ancient Hebrew, you see it in the book of Kings. It talks about how King Solomon built at the back of the temple a spiral staircase. And it's talked about in the Gemara and Ezekiel as this, all of the priests would have to go down these spiral staircases to access the mikveh, which is an awesome image. So we have this idea that there's a spiral staircase sort of implanted in the architecture of our holiest structure. What is a spiral staircase inside of us? That's where we can really access the opportunity this month. So what's beautiful about a spiral, first of all, I want to just show you, if you can see it, that is a lamed. This is actually the month Elul has these double lameds in it, and the lamed is a wonderful, just such a cool letter because it itself is a spiral staircase. Oftentimes you'll see in Kabbalistic works, you'll see the lamed kind of taken. This is the cursive form of it, but you'll see the lamed taken and all these little bitty spirals drawn inside of it. So the word itself, the hieroglyph of the month of Elul, actually is like a multi-spiraled word. So spiral, of course, is such a great word as well because if you look at the roots of spiral, there are many that say that it's connected to sefer, sapir, spiral, spiritual. The SPR is a really incredible root within the Hebrew tradition that really, we're coming to the Sefer Torah. A Sefer Torah is not just a book with pages. It's actually it is a spiral instrument in the sense that it is one long continuous roll. And so we have that imagery and that metaphor deep within our holiest article of the Sefer Torah, this place where our story is rolled up, and there's the power to the roll that's really special. So that's the invitation here. What is the roll? What is the spiral? If you've ever walked up a spiral staircase, it actually kind of creates a momentum when you're going, right? It kind of propels you out onto the roof of the next place you are. So there's a momentum that happens when you're doing spirals. There's this wonderful phrase that God leads us b'magle tzedek, in circles of tzedek and circles of righteousness. There's a way in which we're circling, and of course it goes down to the spirals of our DNA. It goes down to and out to the spirals of the earth, traversing around the sun. Spirals are a very basic part of our makeup here in this reality. Is we're spiral makers and we're made of spirals. So we're really zoning in on that energy. So what happens when you're going up a spiral staircase, and how does that connect to this month of Elul and to this theme of repentance that we're supposed to be kind of working on this month? So one of the beautiful is when you're going up a spiral staircase, you're able to access 360 degrees. It's not just bottom to top, it's going around and accessing perspective and multiple perspectives and opposing perspectives. And that's a really important thing when we're looking at our personal growth, is to be able to access multiple perspectives of ourself and where we've been and where we're going. And when we're able to sort of have that brain plasticity of I'm able to see, myself from multiple angles, I'm able to take in my good and my bad, then we're able to grow much faster and move much faster. It kind of creates that propelled spiral movement. Of course, the word balul, which means to stir up, which is another spiral, the stirring up of the incense in the temple. Balul means to be stirred up. You can almost imagine the blades of a blender, like stirring something up. Okay, that's the idea right now, is to have these multiple perspectives that allow us to really liquefy and move faster. So what does it mean to have multiple perspectives in our life? One place that I really find this to be helpful in the therapeutic work that I do with people is, first of all, I use EMDR a lot. Eye movement, reprogramming, desensitization, and reprocessing, And the power of EMDR is you take a traumatic event or a painful memory or a painful feeling, and you use the bilateral stimulation of the brain hemispheres in order to kind of bring in this physical modality to an emotional or cognitive experience. So let's say that I have this painful childhood memory, and instead of just talking about it, we integrate eye movement stimulation. So moving eyes from one side to another. And by bringing in that physical stimulation of the eyes, just like simulating what happens when we go to sleep at night with REM sleep, the way that we process through the material of our days is every night we go to sleep and our eyes go back and forth while we're dreaming. And that chewing of the brain is what allows us to take the material of the day and process it and file it away as something growthful that created understanding and growth for us and integration. Without that proper, God forbid you don't sleep, like without that proper reprocessing of our days, then we don't have mental health. So what EMDR does and what we do in therapy is we sort of simulate sort of like CPR in a way, where you're helping the person breathe. We simulate brain processing. And the way that we do that is we stimulate the hemispheres and do a bilateral stimulation. And so I'm connecting this up to the spiral, because that's what a spiral does. When you're going around and around, you're getting this side and that side. You're getting multiple perspectives. And when we take multiple perspectives about ourselves and our lives and what we've done, that idea of repentance, when I can take multiple perspectives of what I've done, then I can process through it and integrate it in. So that's what happens with the bilateral stimulation. Now, how do we do that? How do we do that inside of ourselves? And of course, we come to the last line of the psalm that we say every day, every morning of Elul. We read the 27th psalm, which the last line is Lule Hemanti Lerot B'tuv Hashem Be'eretz Chaim. Would that I, because I believed that I would see the good of Hashem and the land of the living. The word lule at the beginning of this verse means, it's this wonderful word because it's a little hard to translate, because it means would that it were, or maybe, or it has this sort of question at the end of it. It has a sort of introspective vibe to it of like, wow, what would it have been like if I hadn't have believed? It's a question where we ask ourselves, whoa, if I hadn't have done that, then I wouldn't be here. It's an introspective movement that we do inside of us. And that's, of course, Lule is the word Elul, the name of the month, spelled backwards. So we have it deep in our tradition to work with this energy of spirals and of looking back and saying, Lule, wow, what happened back there? That's the energy of the retrospection that we're doing right now, is we're looking in and we're saying, how did that create who I am today? And how is that important? So I want to share an example of working with a client that was really powerful, where you got to see the importance of looking back and reprocessing through material. So we could call this repentance, and that is a really important, energy of this time. But more than repentance, I really like the idea of integration and viewing this time of teshuva as a time of integration. Because teshuva itself, the word itself, it means return. It means answer, which implies a question and that dialectic. So there's a movement to teshuva. So when we look back at what we've done, we're able to reprocess it and integrate it in a new way. So I want to share an example of working with a client, and that I think really really shows the power of what happens when we go back and we look at the past and we reprocess and integrate it. So this client one week called in like 30 minutes before our session and was like, I can't come in, I'm so sorry, but I'm at the police station. Wow. And he's at the police station, which is very odd for this client because he's a very soft-spoken, the last person you would expect at a police station. But he's calling me, he's like, I can't come in because I'm going to be here, all night. And okay, the next session we had, of course, we were unpacking like what happened. And basically he had been in his car and he had gotten in a little fight with somebody, and the person had degraded his mother, had made some comment like, your mother's ugly, literally. And when this person said something bad about his mother, even though he didn't know his mother at all, it so triggered my client that he went and he almost attacked the man and got the police called on him. So this soft-spoken person all of a sudden is attacking somebody for cutting down his mom. He ended up in the police station. And so we just started to explore that. And what we found, he did not realize this before, but through the therapeutic work of introspection, he realized what was so bothersome to him about somebody else calling out his mom was that on the one hand, he loved his mom so much, and he was so connected to his mom, so he was offended for his mom. But even deeper than that was he himself was very angry at his mom. There was a part of him that, yes, loved, but also a part of him that hated his mother and was so resentful. She had been abusive to him, and he had never really looked at the material of the abuse that he had experienced. He always just said, I love my mom, and I'm going to keep her as this loving figure that she sometimes was, and never really look at the not loving figure that she often was. And so he kind of put away that material deep into his subconscious and never accessed it until this guy cut down his mom and he exploded. Wow. So this was a really awesome opportunity for him to look at, to do some repentance and to do some teshuva, which really means to do some introspection and integration of a part of himself that he had never claimed before. He had always avoided, like the plague, this anger at his mom because it wasn't safe for him to be angry at his mom. This happens a lot with everybody, but particularly when there's been an abusive childhood where it's too scary to access my anger at my parent. And so I just put it away and I idealize them. But at the end of the day, that's not our goal, and that's not the healthy place we want to get to. So this is really how I like to view the idea of repentance, and the time of Elul is like, how do we go and we find that material and bring it up in a safe way and integrate it into us for greatest health? So this is the work, and the basic way to do it is I base it on the Besht. The Baal Shem Tov has a 3-step that is just the best, easiest, clearest, universal description of this process, which is first it's hachna'ah, which means submission, repression. Second is havdalah, which means separation. And third, and the goal, is hamtakah, which means sweetening. So with this client, he was, for years and decades, he was deep in hachna'ah and repressing his anger at his mother. And then it exploded. And he had to face it and be like, oh my gosh, I have this anger at my mom, but I don't want to be, beating up people on the street. So I need to separate from that anger. That's a good thing to do. That's usually when we think of repentance, we think about a stage of separation of like, I don't want to be acting in that way. Let me push that away from me. I don't want to be doing that, which is an important step, mazel tov. But it's not the goal. The goal is sweetening. The goal is when he was able to actually look at his anger and look at his love and integrate the two. He did a bilateral integration of two opposites within himself. And that's where the sweetness comes in. And that's where the growth comes in. And that's where our progress comes in. So when we talk about what Elul is about and what the time of repentance and teshuva is about, I really think that the image of the spiral staircase for me is an archetype of not just, that thing I did was bad, let me push it away or repress it. But no, I want to understand the bad thing that I did this year and I want to sweeten it, and I want to grow from it, and I want to process it and become a better person because of the bad thing that I did, because that bad thing was based on material that had treasures for me, material that, thank God, he blew up at this guy. Because if he hadn't blown up at this guy and ended up in the police office, he would not have ever accessed his anger at his mom. And he would have, it was blocking up his energy, and it was expressing itself in undercutting ways with his wife and in passive aggressiveness. But thank God he had the explosion. Yes, we want to do teshuva on our explosions. We don't want to be acting out and hitting people on the street. But because of that, he was able to get the material and get the important information in it, process through it, and then integrate it into himself to become a whole person. So this is our goal with the spiral staircase. It's becoming a whole person. It's looking at my entire life and seeing the goods and the bads, and allowing myself to see the bad things. This time of repentance is about, I'm going to see it. I'm not just going to hachna'ad. I'm not just going to avoid it. I'm going to say, wow, I did something wrong there. I want to see that, because if we just stay blind to the wrong things that we did, we miss out on all of the juice and all the treasures and all the goods of the sweetening that is our purpose of being in the world. And it's the purpose of our mistake in the first place is that we see it and we work with that material, because that material then becomes the treasures of who we're becoming. You get what I'm saying? So if we just take a moment here and do a Elul hemanti, would that I hadn't had this experience, I wouldn't be where I am today. And if you want, you can even just close your eyes right now and go inside and think for yourself about something this year that you did that you might rather not think about, because maybe you have shame about it, or embarrassment, or confusion, or maybe it's something that happened to you this year that you usually rather not think about. And think about it. Allow yourself to walk up the spiral staircase and see it, and see the multiple layers and degrees and vista of your year. And try and choose maybe one thing that is painful for you, that you did wrong or that somebody else did wrong to you. And take a moment right now and ask, what is the gift that I need to integrate in from that experience? How can I accept all the good things that I am, and also take and integrate in the not so good things that I am, and use those for my growth? If you want, one of the tools that I use in therapy is if you're not doing the eye stimulation, which is a little more complex, you can just simply do it on your own with, this is called the butterfly hold. And you're just tapping both sides with arms crossed and tapping. So thinking about the feelings that are connected to that bad experience, and allowing those feelings to be present, not just pushing them away, but allowing the feelings to be here. Noticing the bad feelings, letting them come through your body. And then asking yourself, what are the roots of that bad feeling? What is the gift of this challenging experience? What can I learn from it? How am I a better person today because of it? How am I wiser? How am I deeper? How am I more understanding or accepting of others and myself? And sort of just drenching that negative experience in the gentle light of consciousness and acceptance, knowing that you can hold this and it's a part of who you are. And yes, you want to do it differently next time, but really hearing the deep roots of why you did it the way you did, and encountering that and honoring that and bringing in the sweetness. Putting up a prayer that we should be able to do the real repentance, which is really an integration of all the parts of who we are, and that when we do this on an individual basis, then it will spread out and reach national proportions, international, global proportions, and it's our work to do. And this is the time to do it. So I really bless us that we can do this work. Obviously, be in touch with me if you want to go deep and really try and get some of these tools down and for yourself, and to process through on a deep level the riches that are inside of you.